It was a lone pearly strand in a rich ocean of sable, 1 in 100,000, dazzling in the early gleam, and his favorite, the instant he saw it. It was a bounty, this white hair. It was dimension. It was the new her, the new them, a token of the hell they'd been through and the hell they'd put each other through, and most of all, the unexpected glory of having somehow found their way back. She'd hate it, of course, if she knew it was there. She'd have plucked it by now, and no doubt have started a conversation with her stylist about whether it was time to start coloring. So it must have kept itself a secret, this singleton, hiding behind the one sprouting closer to the crown, betrayed this morning only by the random splay of her thick mane on the pillow, and only to Waldo. Which would make her hate it even more. She'd rather die than show weakness, to him or to anyone. In fact, but a month ago, he had believed she'd made that very choice, only to learn that she'd faked her death by propping a finagled corpse behind the wheel of her sort-of-husband's sort-of-borrowed Porsche under a Santa Clarita overpass, then dousing car and cadaver in gasoline and setting them both ablaze, and doing it all, Waldo was willing to bet, in the usual killer stilettos. She'd also hate his knowing because, while she treated unabridged knowledge of everything about Waldo as something like a prerogative, she herself was furtive in countless ways and expected him to accept that, which he did. But here the first late spring daylight was peeking through the slats of her plantation shutters and revealing a secret about her very body, a bulletin that he'd read and she hadn't, which he cherished and she wouldn't. All of that made Lorena Nascimento's first white hair, in this moment, the sexiest thing about her. And Lord Almighty, that was saying something. He pressed against her backside, testing how deeply she slept. Not deeply enough, he was pleased to find. She reached back for him and shifted to make herself available, liking it this way early in the morning, and raised her head just enough to let him slip an arm under her neck. As he crushed his lips to the locks against her nape, she let out a sleepy purr, all the more fetching in her unawareness of what it was he was worshipping so. His natural inclination to rise early, reinforced by the habits of 3 years in the woods, Waldo knew he wouldn't fall back asleep. He listened to Lorena's breathing slow and deepen, one more little pleasure he hadn't realized how much he'd missed. God damn, he thought, it was good to be back with her. But god damn, it was complicated, navigating the orthodoxies he'd adopted since the last time. The past month, in fact, seemed like nothing but sex and negotiation. It was hard even to find a place to spend a night together. Uncomfortable as he felt at her house, it was still, when she had it to herself, their least bad option. In his tiny cabin, there'd be no sleeping space for her unless she took his loft, leaving him to curl up on the floor between the sink and the desk. One time they tried a hotel in Idlewild, but its shower alone overwhelmed his zero-footprint sensibility with its casual outrages, from the non-low-flow head to the tiny plastic bottles of shampoo and conditioner and body wash and lotion. The very thought of the megajoules required to manufacture each just to give some tourist a single partial use before a chambermaid tossed the bottle and remaining contents into a garbage can on the way to a landfill where the leftovers would seep into the groundwater and the container could take centuries to degrade, led Waldo to dry quickly and scurry from the bathroom. He threw on his clothes while Lorena watched from the downy bed in a gauzy post-coital torpor, nonplussed but indulgent, almost amused. He biked to his cabin to sleep, then rode the few miles back to see her in the morning.